So Dan Brown, I spoke to you 2 weeks ago at Playlist Live, but a lot has changed since then. You made a big announcement.
Shortly after returning from Playlist Live, we began a community discussion about whether or not we should continue with the Dan 3.0 project. And what we ultimately decided was to wind Dan 3.0 as we knew it to a close and to start kind of what I'm doing now.
Which is what?
Stuff similar to the sort of thing that I was doing before Dan 3.0. Just video blogging, but maintaining certain crowd control elements.
So things have changed a lot in the past 2 weeks, but what hasn't changed is your story, so let's check it out. Let's start the show.
Let's do it.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Partners Project. I'm right now coming to you from Playlist Live in beautiful Orlando, Florida, and I'm with Dan Brown. How would you describe your videos?
Started out just doing random things that I thought would be fun to do in the summer when I was bored. I got my start with the Rubik's Cube tutorial.
Right, looks like that, etc. You get the point.
Kind of more tutorial-oriented things, like I did some magic trick tutorials.
This card trick, as is true with all of my card tricks, is very, very easy to perform.
Then I moved on into kind of the vlogger phase, where I was just talking head, utilizing lots of jump cuts.
I am not the same Dan Brown who wrote the Da Vinci Code. But the fact that I get this question so much has got me thinking.
And now I'm working on a project called Dan 3.0, where I am letting my viewers decide what I should do with my life this year.
This is the beginning of what is probably going to be one of the largest driving days of the Dan 3.0 road trip.
My philosophy has always kind of been, the more viewer engagement, the better. The more you interact with your audience, the better. And I was like, how much can I give to my audience? And I was like, well, I guess my entire life.
I showered, I shaved, I uploaded a video.
What have been some of the craziest things?
Some of the craziest things. They made me go on a 10,000-mile cross-country road trip.
After all the hat wearing and cow talking and driving, we pulled into Fargo, North Dakota.
Another big thing is, when I started the project, I was still living in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Not exactly the best place to do all sorts of crazy things. So I said to my audience, where should I move? And so they nominated cities, and they voted on the cities. And it came down to San Francisco, where I now live. But in second place, and it was in first place for a very long time, was Gay, West Virginia.
And are you looking at these suggestions like, oh my God, please guys don't pick that one?
If Gay West Virginia had won, the person who submitted Gay West Virginia, they weren't doing it just to troll me. They were doing it like they posted a whole paragraph like, I think this would be a really interesting direction to take the project in. Yeah, like it's in the middle of nowhere, nobody lives here, it's just an incorporated district in the middle. So it would have been interesting in a completely different way that I feel like it's interesting now. That's neither here nor there. San Francisco wound up winning, and I think I'm glad that happened.
So let's start from the beginning. Let's go way back.
Okay.
Did you have a video camera when you were a toddler?
I didn't get my first camera until I would have been in middle school. And when we moved into, I was living in Michigan at the time, and when we moved into that house in Michigan, the guy who lived there before, did a bunch of woodworking stuff, and so there's just a bunch of scrap wood, and so me and all the neighborhood kids we built this ramp. And we'd inline skate and ride our bikes off of it and scooter off of it, and we began filming it, and then we didn't even edit it. We would put the VHS tape in a VCR and I don't even know. I didn't even do it. It was my neighbor who did it, but splice it together.
I remember that. I did that. Yeah, you could press record on the other one and you could splice it. That's how it was done back in the day, folks.
Yeah.
When did you start doing videos on YouTube? Let's go to when you decide to put up your first video.
Well, the very first video I put up, I was really actively involved in the stunt pogo sticking community from the age of 10. And there was a forum called the X-Pogo Forums, and we would post pictures of the different tricks that we did, and the sport itself kind of evolved through that. And so when YouTube came around, it was sort of just the natural progression of things to use YouTube as a way of look at what we're doing. But so my first YouTube video was, I believe, me solving a Rubik's Cube while pogo sticking.
Yeah. Kind of skill do you need to have to do both of those things at once?
You need a lot of free time.
So you upload this video to YouTube. Did you start seeing reactions immediately?
It got some views. It wasn't just like put it up, only got like 10 views, whatever. It got a couple thousand, which was interesting to me, but I didn't think a whole lot of it. Yeah, I mean, people were like, wow, that's cool. Rubik's Cube and pogo stick, so, you know.
Well, what was the first video that really blew you up?
Well, the first video that really blew me up was a tutorial on how to solve the Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
Erno Rubik's Magic Puzzle Cube is something that has frustrated millions of people since its release in 1980.
YouTube had piqued my interest before then. I was actively watching YouTube at that point, and my friend knew that I knew how to do the Rubik's Cube and asked me, hey, can you teach me to do that sometime? And it was summer, I was bored. I knew how to edit with iMovie based off of all the pogo sticking stuff I'd done, and so I was like, whatever, I'll make him a tutorial. So I did, posted it. The very first day it got 35,000 views, and it just went viral.
That's crazy.
It was nuts, yeah. That was the first time that the concept of subscribers really registered with me. I remember looking and being like, I have 40 subscribers. What does that mean? So yeah, I kind of ran with it after that.
How did you decide to pursue it more after that?
Well, like I said, I'd been actively watching YouTube at that point, so I actually was kind of interested in starting vlogging.
Okay.
So the Rubik's Cube tutorial was just kind of the greatest possible start anyone could ever ask for. The next thing I did was I submitted a question for the CNN YouTube presidential debate. I was and still am a huge political nerd.
My question for you is, what qualities do you possess that will better prepare you to win in a general election than the other candidates on the stage?
This was like before I had like a big YouTube following, so they weren't interviewing me because I was YouTuber Dan Brown. They're interviewing me because interesting 17-year-old with a interesting question. So at that point, Rubik's Cube tutorial was blowing up. I got interviewed on CNN. Like, it was just kind of like, this internet thing is cool.
You got a momentum.
Yeah.
Like, there might be something here.
Yeah. The guy who was interviewing me asked, who do I like out of the candidates? And I said Barack Obama. And that was at the point that people hadn't like heard of Barack Obama.
You were a trendsetter.
I called it. I'm still very proud of that.
You need to let Barack know.
Oh, he knows.
He knows.
He's on I'm on his speed dial, you know.
What are your inspirations?
There are many video bloggers, online personalities, people that I think the Vlog Brothers have been a big inspiration to me. Wheezy Waiter is another one that's just like, how is he that good?
All right, let's talk about where Dan Brown is in the future. Where do you see yourself and all of this go?
I dropped out of college to focus on YouTubing stuff, and I'm not ashamed of doing that. I definitely think it was the right decision at the time. I do think I want to get a degree at some point, so I think that's something that'll happen in the next 10 years. I'm in no rush. So that's one thing for sure, but I'm definitely going to keep YouTubing. I love it. Greatest thing that's ever happened to me.
Or would there be a Dan 4.0? You'll be at 4.0 before everyone else.
Yeah, I'm climbing those numbers really quickly. If I do something that would be Dan 4.0, I probably won't call it Dan 4.0.
Like Shira, it's kind of lame.
Yeah.
Well, where do you see the future of YouTube?
Advertisers are beginning to take it seriously. Like, instead of like, oh, site where lots of people go to look at dogs skateboarding, I'll slap an ad up there, whatever.
Yeah.
Now they're like, whoa, dedicated audience that comes back, and we can look at very specific demographic information. Like, more money is being thrown at it now than ever, and that's a trend that is not going to stop. And so where things go from there, I mean, you're going to see YouTubers like hiring staff, and I've hired an editor, and I would like to expand further moving forward. A lot more people using the site. I mean, right now it's dominantly middle school and high school kids. That's just the people who are on YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't think that's always going to be the case. I think that TV and computers are going to merge.
It's going to change the viewing experience.
Yeah, I mean, the viewing experience is going to change. Internet connections are constantly getting faster. Mobile connections are constantly getting faster. I mean, it's still kind of a nightmare to try to watch YouTube on your phone over a 3G connection. Like, it works, but it's just kind of like slow. You can't watch. I mean, you can watch HD, but it takes a long time. But 5 years from now, I don't think that'll be an issue.
You will be available everywhere.
Everywhere.
And anywhere.
You can get as much Dan Brown wherever you want Dan Brown.
That is the future.
That is the future.
Well, thanks for sharing your thoughts on the future and your story.
No sweat.
And I look forward to seeing where you head and where it all evolves to.
Yeah.
I'll take credit for Dan 4.0 when it happens.
You're going to take credit for Dan 4.0?
Yes.
Yes?
No.
No.
I'll let you take credit.
Okay,
It's
thank you. I appreciate that.
So thanks to Dan, and of course thanks to all of you for watching. We all wouldn't be here if it wasn't for your support. Stay tuned for another Partners Project next week.